Residents of Site C in Khayelitsha on the Cape.
Amapolisa kwilokishi yaseKhayelitsha.
Our research topic says how unemployment affects crime in Khayelitsha. With my fellow groupmates, we have discussed information from newspaper articles. What do they say about unemployment and crime in Khayelitsha? And then literature review, finding debates and arguments that have been made by scholars regarding this topic. And finally, we have done the oral history interview, getting the voice or experienced people who lived under these conditions. What do they say about the topic? How do they live, and what they think are the solutions in this matter?
Khayelitsha is one of the most dangerous township in Cape Town, and which is considered to be the number one township with the most populated area people, and it is the township which it's full of the informal settlement. As a result, which you can observe in this photo, which is it's full of shacks. South Africa overall unemployment rate has a 32.9%, while there is the demanded of 60% of the expanded public work program and leadership and opportunities, which show that Khayelitsha lacks development.
In addition to that, in all the articles and newspapers we have consulted, we have discovered that the central driver of crime in Khayelitsha is unemployment. Significantly, the crimes that are contact and violent. According to the residents of Khayelitsha and the media reports, the main factors that give birth to crime is the widespread of poverty, lack of adequate employment, particularly for the youth. Moreover, to those factors, the failure of service delivery fits into the desperation that constructs criminal behavior and the gang affiliations in Khayelitsha. The other interesting thing is that in the newspaper articles, they highlighted that the struggle of young people in Khayelitsha, some of them, they do have the prerogative of matriculating. However, they struggle to find entry-level jobs. For some reason, some of the young people, they lack higher institution education, or some do not have vocational skills. Because of the latter, youth employment rate is high in Khayelitsha, hence there is also crime. Not only in Khayelitsha, but South Africa as a whole. When unemployment rate is high, for some reason, many young people feel like they have been neglected by the government, especially when there is no even initiative to make them make means of income. The high rate of crime level leaves young people in desperation and drawn to the bad habits, substance abuse, and crime for survival status or escape for hopelessness.
The findings are based on literature reviews, the debates and arguments that have been made by scholars. Basically, most of the scholars define unemployment as the same, which is the condition of being willing and available to work but not employed. And all those people who are not, mostly people who are not employed in Khayelitsha is the youth from that range from the age of 16 to 25 years old. And then based on the argument or debate that have been made by England, says employment boosts the economic development and social instabilities. Due to the unemployment rate that is high in Khayelitsha, leads to problems like inequality, lack of social cohesion, and the unrest, suggests that the crime like armed robbery in urban areas are often motivated by joblessness. And then one of the scholars, which is Manalio, says that places crime in historical context tracing is the roots of apartheid era, neglect and systematic inequality. It highlights how income disparities and long-term unemployment in previously oppressed communities fuel crime. Note that the drug and alcohol abuse also contribute to the rising crime, which is affected by unemployment. The youth that is desperate, they don't have jobs. Also, it's not only people who are not unemployed, it's not only the one who are not educated, also the one who are educated often are not unemployed in Khayelitsha. All those issues associated with unemployment, according to these scholars, results into violent crimes such as murder, robbery, assault. Also, it is linked with issues like poor service delivery, inadequate policing, and housing shortage.
Due to the different crimes which are happening in Khayelitsha, the situation has resulted to frustration among residents, as seen in March in 2023, a protest during which they set on fire on the chemical toilets and tires and rubbish, which these events occurred in the Jafta Masimola Road in Tantu in Khayelitsha on this day evening. Which means that the community trust in the justice system has failed, which has led to another protest that took place in the Lingale to West Police Station at Magistrates Court. The community was fooled by about 400 people who participated in this march. They are seeking that the police to intervene more into the crime which is happening in Khayelitsha. This is what due to the shooting that occurred in Khayelitsha, where a little kid was called between the shooting and passed away. And this is an evidence that all these strikes are a form of retaliation against the system, which show that the community are being frustrated by the different which is happening in Khayelitsha, and the government is not intervening about it.
To verify our findings and research, we each had to conduct an interview with a person from Khayelitsha. I interviewed a young lady who was born and raised in Makaya, Khayelitsha. Throughout the interview, she touched on some of the things that were said by my group members. She agreed that most of the youth get involved in crime because they see it as a coping mechanism. Some lack funds for higher education. Lack of education as some young people drop out early in high school. Also, there are limited programs to better off their working skills. Peer pressure can also be seen as a factor that contributes to crime, as young people easily influence one another and they see that money as an easy and fast money.
To add more on our findings, I conducted an interview with a man who resides in Khayelitsha Site B, and the interview confirmed most of our research and also provided a new perspective on the effects of unemployment and how they contribute to crime in Khayelitsha. Because merely being unemployed is just the tip of the iceberg, and there are several factors contributing to crime due to it. What I found most significant in this interview was how unemployment is psychosocially stressful. This resident explained how being jobless for a while can cause depression and frustration, especially for the youth that graduated from school with no hope of being employed in the coming future due to the high unemployment rates. Then crime becomes the only apparent solution for them to use in order to survive. This is more apparent to youth which is faced with poverty and do not have people to depend on. He also spoke about how this contributes by wearing down the unity in the community and leads to petty violent crime such as robbery and assault, as well as housebreaking as a way to survive without any form of income. The interview helped us understand better by showing how academic ideas relate to real-life experiences. The literature usually focuses on unemployment and crime in structural ways, like spatial mismatch, state capacity, and gang recruitment. But listening to someone who resides in Khayelitsha enlightened us on the intimacy of the standard of living and ways people cope to unemployment by committing crime.
To conclude, as we found information on newspaper articles and also in literature review and doing the oral history interviews, unemployment is a major driver of crime, especially in marginalized urban areas like Khayelitsha. The issue is deeply intertwined with poverty, inequality, historically injustice, poor service delivery, and social exclusion. Addressing crime therefore requires more than policing. It demands economic reform, social investment, and inclusive development.